Professor Chomsky, in your chapter 11 of Chomsky for Activists, you discuss the movement and third parties and the importance of starting inroads at the local level. This past Tuesday in Buffalo, New York, America's third poorest mid-sized city, India Walton, a Democratic Socialist, beat the longtime Democratic Party incumbent in the mayoral primary, and that means she's most certainly going to be the mayor there. What does her election mean for the trajectory of the movement?
Well, I think thinking about an actual party, political party that is committed to the public welfare, the common good, that's a great idea. It's very difficult to do in the American system. We have a very regressive political system. In the 18th century, the American Revolution, so-called, had progressive aspects. The Constitution itself is a very conservative document. It was aimed, the founders wanted to restrict and limit democracy. Still, by the standards of the 18th century, was a step forward. But being wedded to that system 250 years later, it actually makes very little sense. The idea that the ideal for the judicial system is what's called originalism. We have to figure out what a small group of wealthy white slave owners had in mind when they put this into the Constitution. It's surreal. If the United States tried to enter the European Union, it would probably be turned down by the European Court of Justice because the system is so regressive in many ways. This character, the nature of the Senate, many other things. So it's hard to do. It's hard to break through, but not impossible. And it's very interesting that there have been significant efforts which should be better known. So take the environmental movement. It's forgotten mostly that one of the leading figures in the environmental movement was Tony Mazzocchi, high official of the Union of Oil, Chemical, and Atomic Workers. That union was in the forefront of pressing on environmental issues back in the early 70s, when almost nobody was talking about it. And Mazzocchi was also pretty critical of capitalism. He thought that workers ought to have control over businesses. In the 1990s, he started a labor party. Well, at that point, the unions were under such brutal attack, bipartisan attack, that there wasn't a solid basis for it. But with the revival of the labor movement, which is by no means impossible and is very important, you could have a labor-based party of the kind that Mazzocchi had in mind, which could become a major factor in the political system. Because of the regressive nature of the political system, first past the post and so on, it's pretty hard to do. But there are ways of working into it, like the Working Party in New York, where you can
working families
have fusion candidates and so on. So there are possibilities, and that can change.
Professor Chomsky, I thank you so much for being on the program. Thank you for all the work you have done in the name of peace and justice. I encourage everyone to go out and get the new book, Chomsky for Activists. Not only is Professor Chomsky interviewed in there and has pieces written, but there are other activists who have worked with Professor Chomsky throughout the years talking about their experience. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for what you're doing. It's crucial.